Больше не нужно трогать фейдеры, благодаря машинному обучению, в общем-то, и датчикам, искусственному интеллекту, который делает большую часть работы за нас. Уже проведены многие тесты, где музыка, которую написал компьютер, не сильно отличается, вернее, человек не может ее отличить от той музыки, которую написал живой человек. Тембры становятся все лучше, и возникает вопрос, какая функция остается у художника, если большая часть его работы и творчества, именно творчества, автоматизировано с помощью алгоритмов. От написания слов, и такие алгоритмы тоже уже есть, до последовательности аккордов, выбора тембров, звука нот, что останется у художника. Давайте обсудим это, друзья. Кто готов быть первым? Джошуа?
I'll give it a go. So, I'm an optimist when it concerns the issues that were mentioned, although I do think they're important issues and they need to be addressed. So, the first thing to get across is AI systems and automation of aspect one in the past never thought could be automated. That's coming. It's guaranteed. It's not going to be stopped. So the challenge is to make it high quality and make it enable creativity rather than prevent creativity. We know it's coming in many areas. It's already here. So how do we address that? However, human creativity, I don't think it will be stopped, or at least not easily. And if you look at, well, how the world has changed since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it's been time and time again automation, innovation, bringing in new technologies that make people's lives easier. The microwave oven didn't stop people from cooking at home. And in the audio engineering world, dynamic range compressors, ways to automate some aspects of what the sound engineer were doing, didn't prevent people from being creative. In fact, people now use those tools, things like auto-tune, in very creative ways. So I think there's going to be scope in the future for both. And I think as soon as we automate one level, people will find a way to use it in ways that one can't foresee, or unexpected ways and highly creative ways. In that sense, I'm an optimist, but there is the question of where is the line? Where is the creativity? If a machine can compose music to a level similar to a human, then what is left for the creative mind to do in musical context? I don't know yet, but I do expect that we will find an awful lot of creative innovations to come, even in that way.
Вполне вероятно. Может быть, Ханнес?
Well, I'm almost on the similar opinion. I think if we talk about creativity, then creativity always needs at least two things. On the one hand, creativity is about freedom, but on the other hand, it's also about restriction. And I think technology always gives us both. Of course, whether it's AI or we can go back for centuries. If a new instrument was invented, it gives us new freedom, new possibilities. But on the other hand, there's always certain restriction. For instance, if we are singing, of course, we have lots of and broad varieties of the sounds of our voice and our body, but also there is this restriction of our inner instrument. And maybe a problem is, which we have to overcome now, that it usually takes us years and years that we find the balance between freedom and restriction. Of course, the piano is a really fantastic instrument, but it takes us years that we can play it quite well. And this is somehow a little bit neglected because we switch on our computers and we play and we think, wow, this sounds fantastic, although it's in many senses often totally bullshit. And the technology is going so fast and we can't hold with this, cope with this speed. And we have to learn to play with the computer and not the computer or the electronic instruments playing us. But I think we will come up with these things, and so I'm also optimistic too.
And for me, the technologies which I described earlier, they enable more creativity, and that's what they really help do. They allow, because all of these technical matters are taken care of by the technology, it allows us to be more creative in terms of the orchestration or the way the music or the theatre is performed. And it also allows us to have more time working on that creativity because we're spending less time dealing with the technology itself.
And I think we, or as the other side would say, yeah, we need to know the algorithms that we need to handle them, and that they should not handle us or something like that. We need to control it, and it gives us new possibilities for expression and also for creativity. And so, for example, when you can take a look at the Google Magenta project or different projects for also computing, and that it gives us lots of tool sets and also new ways how to compose or how to interact with the machine. And that's quite interesting time, but it's really, the border is quite sharp, and we need to know how we handle it. I just read a book about digital humanism and transhumanism, and so it's quite important for us that we should make the rules and not the computer make the rules.
Нужно находить диалог с компьютером, с искусственным интеллектом, который мы сейчас создаем. Я просто вижу, что музыкальная индустрия очень сильно меняется, и чем дальше, тем больше инструментов возникает. Уже сейчас можно открыть браузер и, не скачивая какие-то программы, ничего не покупая, а сразу писать музыку в облаках. Это потрясающий инструмент творчества и дает возможность прикоснуться к музыке практически любому человеку. И, по сути, саунд-дизайнеры и инженеры, и молодые композиторы становятся конструкторами идей, технологий, в результате компоновки которых возникает нечто новое. И это новое связано с музыкой весьма опосредованно. Музыка становится лишь частью большого перформанса, интересного, сложного творческого продукта. И музыка — это лишь часть. Так ли это? Саунд-дизайнер — это инженер и конструктор? Или же это самостоятельная профессия?
It's sort of an easy answer. It depends on context. So if you look at game sound design, then whatever the composer comes up with then has to enter the game engine. It has to be brought in, it has to be ported in some way, which means that there needs to at least be a little bit of dialogue, or the game sound designer and composer needs to be aware of how what they've created is going to be used. And thus there are what is known as middleware technologies, software specifically to allow game sound designers to embed what they do into the game. And at a certain point in this process of designing, composing for games, the designer may not be aware of it, but they are essentially programming. They might be using graphical tools to do so. They might not be dealing with things that are using an abstract language, like a lot of low-level programming is, but they are programming and they are constructing and connecting things together that way. So there is already a very blurred line between the artist and the engineer in that context. And very often, the line is simply due to what we don't know, what we have not yet integrated. So there were roles in the past that were considered very creative because it was a black art, it was an unknown. Once we understood how to do it, those tasks became engineering because there was actually a best practice or a rule to follow. And once it becomes automated, then the creativity lies at a level above that, beyond that. People simply use the technology that solves the problem to then
to my opinion, we have to observe both directions. On the one hand, we need the people which have a very generalistic approach. They are composers, improvisers, performers, sound designers, use the technology and make all together and have the generalistic view. On the other hand, as all the stuff and the technology became so sophisticated, we need people who are very specialized on only one single aspect. So for instance, I once was on the podium with the sound designer of The Lord of the Rings, and he told me that he has a crew of more than 100 people just doing very specific sounds for his film sounds. Or we also collaborated with the Daimler AG. We did sound design for the warning sounds for the Mercedes S-Klasse, and within the Daimler company there are hundreds of engineers working on specific aspects of sounds, and of course this is necessary. But if we want to take the next steps, I think it will be the people who have these more generalistic approaches and knew at least a little of what is going on, what is possible, and how can we push these things to the next step.
Yeah, I would slightly maybe disagree that how much that's transformed the ability for people to compose. Because if you've been lucky enough to have a piano at home or a guitar or some other instrument, you've always been able to compose a bit should you wish to, in the same way that computers haven't really helped more people become visual artists, because generally speaking you've always been able to do a drawing with a pencil. You don't need a computer, or you don't need a full range of colours. But and that actually follows on from indeed what you guys were also saying, that a lot of the extra stuff that the computer does for you is far more technical and is about the procedure rather than the creativity.
About creativity and the question, could you say the question again?
Да, конечно. Насколько вообще композитор, вернее, саунд-дизайнер в этом месте остается творцом, а не конструктором, человеком, который сочетает все эти элементы? Ну, в этом тоже много креативности, много творчества.
I think it totally differs. So when it's related to the people. So as the others said, there are some specialists and some people who are the generalists. And the generalists know a lot of know different aspects of audio engineering or different fields and bring them together and make something new out of them or something like that. And the specialist is working in that field and is related also create something new in that field, but only in that special field. And the generalist bring all of them together. And when I also look to the students, and when they start, they sometimes are DJing, just think, okay, I'd like to make electronic music, and then they got an understanding of all the topics, what's related to audio design, and get inspired about it, and all of that development totally in different fields. Some of them went to the audio engineering and went really deep inside in that topic, and some of them are now creating algorithms for machine information retrieval for some audio software companies, and the other ones went to the world of that they are being an artist or so and make music, and the other are regular sound designers and create sound designs for games, and that also differs related to non-linear and linear time-based media, and so it differs from the person or from the related here.
Я согласен. Я верю в то, что искусство останется, и что искусство останется, и, если я правильно понял, говорить про T-shape, когда человек должен разбираться в разных вещах, но быть специалистом только в одной области. И все же искусство используют и в медицинских целях, да, и, например, арт-терапия, доказанное направление в медицине. Один из способов лечения некоторых болезней, связанных с нервными расстройствами, это искусство. Звук – это искусство, соответственно, звуком можно лечить людей. Но звук, вернее, медицина, которая структурирована, это ближе к дизайну, нежели к искусству в чистом виде. Там не допускается творчество, свобода творчества. И поэтому, что же будет являться искусством в ближайшие 5 лет? Звуки. Какие главные навыки будут у саунд-дизайнера? Программирование или искусство? Создание новых интересных, сложных композиций? Или же действительно написание музыки и саунд-дизайна? Я объясню причину вопроса. 5 лет назад основой, вернее, количество сгенерированных треков только в жанре музыки хаус было в 5 раз больше, чем человек может услышать, если будет слушать музыку 24/7 и 365 дней в неделю. Сейчас музыку уже генерируют многие компьютерные проекты, и музыки просто настолько много, и звуков настолько много, что невозможно переслушать за многие-многие тысячелетия. Что же останется искусством? Будет ли следующим генератором искусства компьютер?
So I think when I look through the development, and also I think AI will be the big thing, of course, and in which direction it will go, we need to decide. And when I saw some talks about we will create your song of life or something like that, I'm not really satisfied with that direction. Yes, because all the music is something like you get involved in or you get a connection through an event which is not part of your life, but it tackles you, it brings you to something new, or when you listen to a new piece and it's not your thing. And I think it takes both. It's in which direction it will go. Yes, okay. Related to we will have great tool sets, and we need to know how to handle that tool sets. For example, I could imagine or working on tool is something like that we have some also related to the game industry when we saw this adaptive music, where we get software tools which create music generators which are related to the actual position of the gamer in this game and create sounds, and that's not a loop, it keeps loop and loop, and that makes it more interesting. But I could also think, for example, when we look to a film or something like that the music will be generated through the storyboard and also through the colors in the film, and that we need that the art is to make it correct, to make it more that the human being gets addicted to it, or not addicted, but get it right, and that will be the challenge.
Yeah, Marco, I think you hit some very strong points there. So, computer-generated AI-based music, even if it can reach an incredible level of quality, even if it's quite enjoyable to listen to, that's not very appealing to people as it stands. Do you want to buy albums made by a computer? Is that what you want to be listening to in the background, or in most cases? The answer is no. You might find situations where that is what's being played to you, maybe because it's easy to generate, but it's not what people are going out of their way saying, oh, I wish I could have some nice computer-generated music. But there are two revolutions that will happen, and you basically took the answer from me for one of them, which is there will be two revolutions. One, I believe, in the creation of music, and one in the consumption. And in the creation, we have non-linear media. We have media that can adapt to your mood, media that's based on what's going on in video, in a story. And so if someone is composing for that, they don't say this will follow this, will follow this. Rather, they plan out an auditory world, a world of sound that can adapt over time. They are creating a landscape that may change. They don't specify how the landscape will be at every moment. Rather, they plant the seeds to create something. And that's already done in a lot of game sound, and it's starting to emerge in VR. But you can imagine that coming across in all sorts of contexts. The second revolution is coming from physics, things like metamaterials. So today, you can go to a metro system, subway system, and all of the ads can come to life. They can all be video screens. In fact, you can have a room where almost every surface can display something. So imagine rooms where every surface is a microphone, every surface is a loudspeaker. And you can have incredibly high quality, small, flat loudspeakers, and that technology is increasing at a very rapid rate. So what will we do when you can easily make sounds appear everywhere with incredibly wide range? We'll be exploiting things like the object-based production that was made earlier. So immersive worlds of sound, not virtual worlds, real worlds. Those are the two directions I think are coming.
Well, one thing also we've been talking about is procedural audio, and for me it is the ability to have the audio, whether it's sound effects, whether it's rain or thunder or fire, being generated in real time. It's something that is constantly evolving and changing with the performance, and it's totally flexible with length. And obviously the realism of those computer-generated noises is becoming greater and greater and much better every single day. So that's something that we're going to start using in live shows as well. There's another technology which I'm not sure if it's a good thing, I might have to ask for a show of hands, is that the ability to mix your own concert. So there's an app in development that allows you to use your mobile phone when you go to a gig. And you're listening to the gig through the big loudspeakers, but you've also got your phone and your own headphones. And you can choose on that, you can mix, I want a bit more bass for some reason, I don't know how many people want more bass in their things. Or I want more drums, or I want more of this or that. And that gives this flexibility or this interaction straight to the audience in your hands of them. But I don't know how many people here think it would be a good idea, would like to do that themselves or not. So who would like to mix their own gig? If they had a choice of say 8 channels, who would enjoy that feature in a concert? A couple, not many. But that's kind of, I mean, that's obviously the thing, because in terms of the sound of the guy behind the mixing desk, or whoever it is, the musical supervisor, I mean, everybody in the department is working to give you the best possible sound, what the artist thinks is the best possible sound. But nevertheless, we're seeing lots of these types of interaction coming onto the market.
Well, I think there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of interaction, but you just asked the right question. Who wants to do these kind of mixes? What is the value of all of this for the consumer, for the listener? And I think there is big value. For instance, if we use all these technologies as we did in rehabilitation and in fields like medicine, as you already mentioned, and all these things. So there is definitely the value, but I personally believe that there's not really the value if we go to the concerts or to the cinemas, if we are in the art, because most of the people just want to listen to the music and not to interact in sophisticated ways. And I think it's really, really important that we have these specific moments in our life where we just can sit down and focus on listening to Mozart or Beethoven or what music ever. And another point I would like to mention, you asked whether it was the technology or the composer. For my opinion, it will be definitely the human being. It will be definitely the composer who will push the edges and takes the next steps. We talked about artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is mainly about statistics. Statistics always prefers the average, so it pushes the mainstream. But new impulses always, from my opinion, do not come from the center but from the edges. And there are the niches which not within all these music information retrieval and pattern recognition and artificial intelligence systems. So we need definitely the artists and the avant-garde musicians for new developments in sound design as well as in music. But these people will also use technology and make their music with the technologies of their time. But it's not the technology which pushes forward to the next steps.
Спасибо, друзья. Я думаю, что возникнет смесь, да, наверняка мы будем уже композиторами алгоритмов, и битвы, у кого же алгоритм лучше, который напишет музыку. Я не знаю, как насчет того, чтобы люди стояли в очереди за компьютерной музыкой, но, по крайней мере, за произведениями искусства, которые нарисовал компьютер, разбрызнул на листок бумаги, уже выстраиваются очереди, и на аукционах эти произведения стоят огромное количество денег. Тем не менее, саунд-дизайн, действительно, мы работаем в одной сфере, и саунд-дизайн открывает огромные возможности просто в силу появления разных сфер. Электротранспорт, он должен как-то звучать. Транспорт, который не звучит, он опасен. Телемедицина. Доктор должен чувствовать, слышать разницу, что происходит в организме пациента гораздо быстрее. И слух гораздо быстрее работает, чем зрение. Это доказано тоже, уже многократно доказано. Шоу становятся интерактивными, компьютерные игры. Какие же новые профессии, как вы считаете, появятся в ближайшее время, в которых сможет поучаствовать саунд-дизайнер?
Well, I think there's a really broad variety of professions. I talked to this to our students in the very beginning, in the first lecture. Most of the people are still coming to our bachelor courses with the idea in mind that there will be the sound technician or there will be a sound designer of a specific film. And I think these kind of jobs are, at least in Austria, quite difficult because of the progress of the technology. But a lot of other fields came up. Think of product sound design. I think there are nowadays more people involved in making sound design for our nutrition or for our cars or for several other projects. There are much more people involved as for instance in Austrian popular music production, and so there is really a broad variety. Game design was mentioned, interaction design in public spheres were mentioned, and so on. And I think there is some kind of a renaissance of sound of the